Today's podcast is brought to you by Faith vs. Fear, Breaking Family Ties, now available on Barnes& Noble and Amazon.com. You are now listening to Renewed Mind Revolution podcast with your host, Michelle Kakal. You are now listening to Renewed Mind Revolution podcast with your host, Michelle Kakal. Please begin to take that good deep breath as we begin to refresh, recharge, and reset. Let's go. Welcome to Renewed Mind Revolution podcast with your host, Michelle Kakal. As always, it is my honor and my pleasure to be able to share some tips and some tools with you that I know will assist you in becoming a better you. As always, you guys, it is my honor, it is my pleasure to be able to be here one more day and share something with you guys. Remember that all of the information I share here on this podcast can be found in the books Breaking Family Ties or Faith vs. Fear, which is available on Amazon.com and Barnes and Noble. Now, there's something very important and unique that I want to share with you today. I will not be keeping you very long. You guys know that. I don't like to do that because I want to make sure that you retain this information. And so I try to be as quick and to the point as I can. I just want to thank you guys so much for being here with me, for listening to me, for giving me feedback, and for giving me your time. You can listen to a whole lot of people who are way more famous and celebrities and all that good stuff that you can be listening to, that share some tips and tools, but you took the time out to listen to little old me to share some information with you. And so I appreciate you. But before we get started today, there's something that is so very simple that happened today in the place that I live. You guys, we've been talking about COVID and pandemic for a couple of years now. And, we have been just waiting and praying for some type of light at the end of this tunnel. And so today, my daughter, today is the day after what we call President's Day. And my daughter went to school and she called me, well, texted me, sorry. And she, said, did you know that, masks are not optional? And, I had been keeping up with the news, and I knew that a lot of districts had adopted this over the weekend, but I had not heard anything from her school, so I didn't say anything. I was waiting for them to make it official, and I guess they really had not, but the teachers were already sharing this information, so she was, stating to me that, a teacher told her that, this is what's going on right now. And then, she was telling me that, none of the teachers are wearing masks. And so my first question to her was, how do you feel about that? That was my first question. And then my follow-up question was, well, what are you going to do? And so I'm bringing this to the forefront because I want for those who have children uh, that are in, school right now. And especially for those parents who have young kids, who children actually start school during the pandemic and have known nothing different except, separation and masks. Please talk to your kids. Please have a conversation with your kids because this is going to be a shock for some of them. They've never had this. She's actually stated that, the schools have told them that they're going to go back to pre-COVID. So, come tomorrow, there will be no mask, no separation. They'll be eating lunch together. It's going to be a whole, new experience. But for those, she's a teenager, so she's aware of what it was like, of course, prior to COVID. But for those who have young children who, have no experience of what it was like before COVID, please take that time and talk and share with your children to make sure that they are handling these changes well. See, if they have any questions, any concerns. It's going to be a shock for some. The little ones, going to be a real shock for them to adjust. Now, kids are very good at adjusting, don't get me wrong. They're young. And a lot of times it's way more easier for them to adjust than adults, but don't take that for granted. Please have a conversation. Make sure it does not hurt to say, well, how do you feel about that? What do you think about that? And that's just that simple. It's just that simple. So I wanted to throw that out there because it seems to me a lot of times that we overlook our young people. You guys know I talk about that a lot. We overlook their feelings. We overlook what they are going through. We overlook what they have to deal with. Adults make all the laws, all the policies, all the rules, and so we just kind of overlook our children and how they are affected by the things that we do. So I just want to bring that up and make sure that you are checking on yours and making sure that they are handling these different type of changes and adjustments in a positive way. Now let's get to what we're going to talk about today. So what I wanted to share with you guys today is sometimes we tend to respond to our trauma, to our problems, to our issues, to our anxieties, to our fears, to our sicknesses, to our, depression, to whatever it is. We respond to it. We become one with it. We allow it to engulf us, to consume us. And so, what I want to talk about is getting to a place where you can still be in the middle of all that I just mentioned and still have an overcoming attitude, having an overcoming perspective. This takes work. We're going to do this together. This takes work. It kind of reminds me of this message that I heard as a little girl over and over again. A sermon is what we call it. And it simply said, don't wait till the battle's over, shout now. So it's pretty much a mentality, right? It's a conscious mentality of, of victory, right? Being victorious, regardless of what your current circumstances, regardless of what your present moment is. And the reason why I think this is important, let me share this. The reason why I think this perspective, you guys know I love that word, I use it a lot. The reason why I think this perspective is mandatory is because there will be and there is a lot of situations that last so long, and some that will just be, but it should not, and sometimes we cannot allow it to afford it to change who we are. It should not be able to rob us of our peace and our tranquility and our joy and our happiness, our life, our life. And so it is important to understand that you can be in the middle of your struggle. You can be in the midst of your trauma, right? You're still dealing with it. You're still dealing with the trauma. You're still dealing with the residue of it. You're still dealing with the effects of it. You're still, dealing with this addiction. You're still dealing with this anxiety. You're still dealing with this pain. You're still dealing with this fear, this depression, this sickness. You're still in the midst of it, right? You're still going back and forth to the doctors, back and forth to the hospitals. You're still in the midst of it. But despite that, despite being in the midst of it, you're not allowing it to uh, consume you. You're not allowing it to change your attitude, your presence, your demeanor, because you now have a a, a, a victorious outlook. You now have a overcoming. I am an overcomer. You have that attitude. That it doesn't have to be over for me to be happy. Sometimes we feel like, okay, yeah, when this is done, then I'll do this. When this is finished, then I'll be this. When this happens, then I'll go on and do that. Right? We put stipulations on things. When this is done, then I'll be able to rest. When this is finished, then I'll be able to get me some rest, get me some sleep, then I'll be able to, feel better, be okay. What if it goes longer than what you expect? Because this has been my experience. That things in life, especially seems like the older I get, that things in life goes way longer than I anticipated. It seems to me that a lot of things, you know, the issues, the concerns, in my mind, should have been over a long time ago, right? And I'm sure you've experienced the same thing. Kind of felt like, hey, I could deal with this for a little bit, but soon it'll be over. But what if it goes longer? Then what happens is over time, over time, it will begin to chisel away at your character, chisel away at your patience, chisel away at your joy, chisel away at your happiness and your peace because it has gone longer than you anticipated. You waited to smile. You've waited to be happy. You've waited to show joy and excitement and get your rest and get your peace and all this when it was over. But it has gone way longer than you expected or anticipated. And in the meantime, you have been chiseled and chiseled and chiseled away. And so then you almost become unrecognizable to yourself because now you're in this slump of a place because you have not had this overcoming. I'm an overcoming outlook. You've had more of a conditional outlook. Come on, somebody. We're talking about that. Conditional outlook. I will be okay when this is over. I'm going to be happy when this is over. When my divorce is final, then I'll feel better. Come on, somebody. We've said that with our mouths. When my divorce is final, then I'll feel better. When my divorce is over, then I'll be happy. My kids are grown and out the house, then I'll be fine. But what are you doing in the meantime? When I'm done with this back and forth to the doctor's office, they tell me specifically what's going on with me, then I'll have peace. But until then, no, I can't. Right? So these appointments go longer than what you anticipated. Right? You're dealing with it longer than you wanted to deal with it. So in the meantime, what are you? Troubled. What are you? Worrisome. What are you? Frustrated, angry, mad, and all these things because you have already spoken to yourself and told yourself, in order for me to be happy, in order for me to have peace, in order for me to be okay, then this has to happen, and it has not happened yet. It has not happened, and you have no idea when it will happen. When you started off, you was hoping, you was anticipating, but it didn't. So now what? What happens now is that we have to come to terms with the fact that everything does not work as fast as we want. It does not work the way we always wanted to work. And so we have to not have conditional uh, happiness, conditional peace, conditional joy, conditional, you know, satisfaction, or we have to understand that it has to come from another place than outside sources or the conditions of our current situation. It has to be deeper. It has to be deeper than that. We have to understand that things just does not always work out the way that we intended for them to work out, and that I don't have to wait to be happy. I don't have to wait to hear what the answer would be before I rejoice, before I get excited, before I start celebrating. I don't have to wait for that. I can do it right now. You can do it right now. You don't have to wait for the phone call to say you've been approved for you to get excited. You don't have to wait for the phone call to say that, the cancer is clear for you to get excited. You don't have to wait for that email to say, congratulations, the job is yours, for you to get excited. Because it's not going to be conditional anymore. It's not going to be conditional. My my feelings, my emotions, my mental health status, my physical health status. We're not going to do that anymore. We're not going to put that all on the line of being conditional based upon something that has to happen. Okay. We're not going to do that anymore. No more. No more of conditional, you know, grace, conditional peace, conditional love and joy. You deserve it. You deserve all the good things that life has to offer. So you don't have to sit here and wait for it to be yours when it could be yours right now. Right now. And no matter how strong you are, no matter how tough you are, do you know that over time, if you allow something just continue to, chisel and chisel at you, just keep pushing upon you, that it's going to affect you. And when I was thinking about that, I was thinking about rocks, and I was thinking about water and what they call weathering, and the fact that weathering just describes the breakdown or dissolving of rocks and minerals on the surface of the earth. And this happens over time due to the temperature, due to the water, right? Just keeps that's why you have places, like rocky landscapes and like the Grand Canyons and all these amazing things that we see, but it's based upon just erosion. It's based upon erosion. So think about how solid and strong we think of a rock, right? We think of it as being so solid and so strong, but even something so simple like water and temperature over time, just constantly hitting it, hitting and hitting and hitting it, it causes erosion. And so the same thing with you and me. Over time, if we just keep allowing things to hit us and hit us and hit us and hit us, it will affect us. It will affect us. And what's really interesting is that it all affects us differently. And that is something that have learned too over time. Is that sometimes you be thinking, wow, this person really has it going on. And they've been, through so much. But then you notice something, right? That it'll come out in another way. Like with you, it probably is just so obvious, that you're going through these different changes and you're trying to adjust or whatever, just keep it together. Then with them, you don't see it, but it's coming out in other ways, in other, and sometimes unhealthy ways because they're not processing and dealing with things in a healthy way, in a healthy manner. It's important how we handle, different things that come in our lives. But it's just the fact that you and I both are not designed to just keep getting hammered and hammered and hammered and telling ourselves over and over again, well, I'll just wait and I won't, I won't have any peace until this is done. It's not healthy to say, oh, I won't even, be able to get any rest until this happens. Like to consciously say that to yourself is setting yourself up for failure. And so I really wanted to, share that it's not, some big grand message today, but it is a powerful message. It's a powerful message to, for you and I both to make sure that we are not compromising our mental, physical, emotional health by saying, our health is, it's going to be conditional based upon, if this happened, that happened, if this changes, if that changed, because the change might not come at all. Not only will it might take a long time, but the fact is some things just may not change. And that's a hard reality. That's a hard reality. It's a hard thing for me to even say, but it is a fact that some things may not change. So what do you do? What do I do? Right? If I have put my joy or my peace up on the shelf and say I won't pull that down until this change. If it doesn't change, I've just forfeited my joy and my peace. And I can't afford to do that. You can't afford to do that. So let's not let these things be conditional. Let's be mindful of what we're saying and how our actions are following up with that. Listen, I definitely just wanted to share this nugget. It came, to me, and I wanted to share it. You know how I am. I have to share it with you guys. And I'm so glad that I have been able to do that. I had a rocky start, a lot of technical difficulties, but I'm so glad that I was able to share this message with you today. God bless you guys. God bless you. God bless you. Thank you so much for taking the time once again to listen to Renew My Revolution podcast with your host, Michelle Kakala. It has been my honor and my pleasure, as always, to share some tips and some tools with you that I know will assist you in becoming a better you. Please, please love yourself. Love your neighbors. Love each other. Take care of each other. Love your family. Go hug your kids today. Go hug your loved one, your spouse today. Tell somebody I'm thinking about you. I'm praying for you. I care about you. Let's show love to one another, you guys. Don't worry. We have some more guests that will be coming up real soon. Looking forward to it. I've had people reach out to me. They're loving, you guys. They love you guys. They love my listeners as much as I do. Well, I don't know if that's possible because I love you guys a whole lot. But they love you guys and want to share good messages with you, and I want to make sure you get them. So you guys know I'm very picky about who I allow to come and talk to you guys, because it has to be something that is going to be impactful and changing for you and changing for me, right? We want good tips and tools. So I am looking, listening, and super excited about the future of this podcast. And thank you so much for being a part of this journey. God bless you guys. Have an outstanding day. Remember that I love you, but most importantly, God loves you more. Listen, be good to yourself. Go be great. Bye-bye.